All right, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Assalamu alaikum. Um, just sitting here. This is the first day uh, of summer for me. Finished cleaning out my classroom, turned in my keys, ready to sit back and enjoy the summer uh, to the best of the ability and prepare for tomorrow's or next year's school year. But I just wanted to take some time to breathe, to think about this school year and some of the successes and some of the failures. Um, and then also I wanted to discuss, the need for Black teachers, and I want to try to create a platform where we can start to mentor and bring a lot of young Black males into the teaching profession because it's very beneficial. Just a little bit about me as I make this, trying to grow this platform here. Uh, I am a school teacher at a Islamic school, Tampa, Florida. Um, Before I was a school teacher, I worked in corrections for 13 years. Um, and when my kids got of a certain age, I remember having the conversation. My son was about 12, my daughter was about 10, and I told him, I said that it's time for dad to go back to school. I've always dreamed to be a school teacher, but with life circumstances, I had to support my family, and I had to put being a school teacher on hold. So I ended up, when I got a divorce at about, I want to say 33 years old, I looked at my career as a correction officer and I said, hey, you no longer have to support this family that you had with this job. Now it's time for you to go for your dreams. So I went back to school, and at the age of 38, I ended up graduating from college. And I essentially, at the age 38, I started teaching. Now, the story of my college experience as a older student that's a whole nother story that we will go into in other videos. So the time in between when I left corrections and I became an actual teacher, I was in the school as a paraprofessional. Um, I was building a network experience, working with ESC students, students with autism, students with learning disabilities, students with behavioral issues. Now, of course, me being a bigger guy, I kind of got stuck with, well, I shouldn't say stuck. It was a really good experience. But the administration would put me with the more violent students. So that was a challenge that I had to deal with in and of itself. But I think that I did very well. And I gained a wealth of knowledge working with ESC students. And I really grew a love and an affinity for those students. So I just wanted to add that. I did that for 5 years while I was going to school to get my degree. So this is the end of my third year teaching. And this year was extremely difficult. So of the prior 7 years that I was in the school system, 5 as a paraprofessional and 2 as a teacher, I would always hear teachers talk about, TGIF, thank God it's Friday, or, woo, I can't wait until the summertime. And I never really understood, because coming from corrections, where, you didn't get days off. There was no summer break. There was no spring break. You're working with some of the worst people of society. School was, it was a cinch. I mean, it had its challenges and its difficulties, but it wasn't overly taxing. I tell my brother, I got all of these gray hairs from working in corrections. He's 2.5 years older than me, and I probably have 20 times more gray hairs than he has, so working in the school system was not difficult for me. It was fun to be around young kids and to try to get them to see the love and the benefit of education. And I teach history, so trying to bring history alive to the students was fun and exciting for me. So I never actually felt the pressure that I guess other teachers felt when I would hear them say, "Oh, I can't wait until Sunday," or "I'm sorry, I can't wait until the summer." But this year, I felt that pressure. And so I'm just going to take this time to just discuss this year that when we dealt with COVID and online learning and hybrid learning and, Quizlet plagiarism and all of the points that goes with that. So I will say of the highlights for me as a teacher, I would say the highlight was when we went hybrid and I was actually able to come to school with the students in my classroom and to feel their energy, right? To teach them. That was the highlight. Now, the school that I'm at, the students got to decide if they wanted to continue online learning or if they wanted to come to in-person learning. So I teach at the school I'm at. I teach 11th grade, 10th grade, and 9th grade. And no 11th graders came. No 10th graders came. Well, one 11th grader started to come at the beginning, but then switched over to online learning. No 10th graders came. And I would probably say about 35% of about 35% of the 9th graders came. Maybe not 30, maybe 20% of the 9th graders came. So it was really fun and exciting to teach those 9th graders. So I would say that was definitely a highlight. I would say the lowest part of online learning this year for me was trying to push my energy as a teacher through the screen into my students so that they can get excited about education. That was the hardest part. It was very draining. I remember the first semester where we were 100% online. When school would let out, I would go to my bed and I would just lay down. I would fall asleep. It was so exhausting to go through an entire day trying to push energy into the students. And if anybody, has kids or is a teacher, you recognize, these kids did not feel like doing this at all. And if the teacher isn't there to kind of hold their feet to the fire and to hold them accountable, if they're in their own classroom, I can be as passionate as I want to be about the material. If they're in their own bedroom, they're not going to pay attention to me. I could be talking and to 20 students and 20 of them can have me on mute. There's been plenty of times this school year where I would ask a question and I would get no response at all. No response. And then when I would say, does anybody, "Oh, brother, can you repeat the question?" And you're not listening. That's, and so that was the low part, was trying to push the motivate the students and push energy through the computer into students to try to get them excited about the school year. So that was very difficult. Now, anybody that knows me, I hate grading. When I was going to school, that was something that I wish they would have told me about, how time consuming grading is, and being a history teacher where I believe in getting authentic assessments, which is having the students read and write as much as they can. It's very difficult and time consuming to read all of the writing. Now, of course, I don't read it all. I read enough to get a general consensus of whether the students know the material or not, but it's still time consuming. So I'm this summer, I'm going to work on ways to kind of streamline my authentic assessment for the students and create a system that I can grade with more proficiency. So that's something that I'm going to work on this summer. So when we say summer break for a teacher, a lot of people don't realize, you really you get about 1 or 2 weeks. And then if you are a teacher that cares, let me say that if you're a teacher that cares, you're already thinking of, how can I be a better teacher? How can I improve? What were some of the mistakes that I made this year? How can I remove those mistakes? What can I replace those mistakes with to become better? So I'm going to take about 2 weeks of a brain break, I should say. And then I'm going to go ahead and get started, on becoming a better teacher, because my goal is to be a master teacher, without a shadow of a doubt, to be the best teacher that I can be, and to be a master teacher. So let's see here. What are some of all the highlights? When I think about my highlights, guys, it really revolves around the students. As teachers, we realize, we realize every day how much energy we get from the teachers, right? Or from the students, being around the students, being around their youthful vigor, being around their inquisitiveness, just being around them and mentoring them and answering their questions and pushing our energy into them is something that we're very passionate about. So it's exciting to be around them. So I think about when we had testing, when all the students came in, and I remember that, all of a sudden one day, after an entire year of having no students in the classroom, I had all the students in the classroom. And I remember standing in front of them, and I had a bit of anxiety because you hadn't been practicing any classroom management for an entire school year, so to have them all in class, it was just a brief moment of anxiety, but then I was like, all right, you know what you're doing, just stick to your guns. So that was fun, having them when they all came for testing. That was a blast. Let's see here. Another issue, right? And this is, if I say a negative point, that I think we all have to kind of look into as a culture, is the level of perceived, I don't want to accuse, but perceived cheating. We had an issue, well, I had an issue, I won't put it on anybody else, where in my class online, students were getting hundreds on their scores. And I knew that something was amiss, because traditionally in my one class, and it's a very difficult class, if a student was getting a 65, 70, 75 on the test, they were doing very well. So for me to turn around, and now this year online, I have a bunch of students getting hundreds, it was concerning, because, you want to think that the students aren't going to cheat, but, it's very difficult when you're at home, you have the computer in front of you, and all of the answers to every question that you could ever think of from a high school course has already been placed online. So I knew that was going on, that the students weren't being, forthcoming as far as their morality, academic integrity. But you don't necessarily want to accuse, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids of cheating, especially if you don't necessarily have the proof. That's the hardest part, is that it's happening. If you wanted to dive into it and be a detective and analyze each student's words, that they're cheating, but what can you do? And that was the difficult part of this school year. What can you do so that you can, still motivate the kids and still hope that they get the material down, So that was the challenge, was to dealing with academic integrity. And also those students that did have academic integrity, they ended up suffering because, if I had a test, I couldn't curb the test because so many students were receiving 100s. So that was a little unfair and something that was very concerning to me. I think there's so much more. If I could think about this school year, teaching it with a mask on was not good. I actually ended up distancing myself from the students, and I had to take my mask down because it was too much. I couldn't teach with a mask on. So that was difficult when we did come in person. Seeing the students, seeing the teachers, coming in halfway through the school year and organizing my classroom. I remember my daughter came down and she helped me. That was very special to me whenever, my kids can come in and help me build my classroom, and they can get designs. And, I like it here. So throughout the entire school year, I can look at something that they did, or a design in my classroom that was special to them. And it makes me think about them. So that was fun. So yeah, and now I'll switch subjects here to when we're talking about the need for Black male teachers. So I was talking to my mother, and she has really gotten involved in the alumni for her high school in inner city Cleveland. And she was talking to the principal, and the principal, which is a male, was telling her, because, they were trying to recruit me and my brother, because we were also thinking about, at one point in time during the COVID lockdown, I actually went up to Ohio and, I just taught from in my mother's house when everything was 100% online. Just, 'cause my brother was in town and I wanted to spend time with him. So I went up there. And so we were just talking to the principal of her school, and he was telling about the difficulties of online learning in the inner city, and how they were the alumni was talking to the current administration of how they were going to try to navigate this difficult time. And so I was having the conversation with my mother about that. And she was saying how the principal said that, they really, really, really need Black male teachers. And I was talking to one of my coworkers yesterday as I was breaking down my classroom. He had already had his done, and this was his first year teaching at the school, and he was saying a lot of the difficulties that he had saw within the school. And I said, yeah, that we didn't necessarily experience them all, because there is an issue where some of the women who, of course, most teachers they're so sweet. They're so sweet. But a lot of the young men take this as an opportunity to be disrespectful, and me being a male teacher, I kind of feel as though I have to protect some of the other teachers, because there's no reason for them to be disrespected, and they shouldn't have to yell in the classroom. And, I was talking to a coworker several years ago, and they said that, you don't realize, but your bass in your voice booms, and that booming bass gets the students' attention. That a lot of sisters, a lot of our sisters don't necessarily have that booming bass. So because they don't have that, some of the students, and of course not all, some of the students are going to take advantage of that. Some of the students are going to, test her, and that's always upset me. And maybe that takes it back to my correction days, but I've always felt the need that I have to protect anyone from disrespect. I won't allow it in my classroom, and I can't stand to hear it. Now, unfortunately, we know in this culture today, there's a push to be disrespectful amongst our young people. I'm not going to say that our young people are disrespectful, but I think that there is a serious push that's being put into them through different, avenues, whether it be the music or the movies or, the TV shows or, whatever, the social media, that pushes the students to not have reverence for the elders of their society. So I was talking to him and I said that, what, we need more. You have to stay. We need male teachers. We need male teachers, if not to roam the halls. We need male teachers to keep the kids, on point, to hold their feet to the fire. Not to say that the women can't do it, but there's a difference. That booming voice grabs attention of our young people. And in a lot of educational settings, that's a valuable asset that has to be utilized. Of course, we need more male teachers, generally, but specifically, we need more Black male teachers, because teaching is it's a profession that is essentially ran by women, and because of that, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I know in today's era, people hear that and say, "Oh, you're being misogynistic." And no, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. But what I am saying is that a lot of the young men that are in the schools do not have, especially the young Black men that are in the schools, do not have a positive male role model to model themselves after. Okay. We know what's going on in our society, as far as, whether it be the prison system, whether it be, whatever conditions may exist in the world. We know that that's a reality. Okay. It's improving. It's not as bad of a reality as people like to say that it is, but there is a reality there. Okay. And we see that a lot of these young men at home do not have positive role models. We're seeing increasingly in the church, they don't have positive role models. And we're seeing in the school that they don't have positive role models. When I say role models, I'm talking about male role models. Okay. So because of that, we need more Black male teachers in the schools. Okay. And I'm not saying and more than just coaches, and I'm a coach. I'm a wrestling coach. I haven't coached in 3 years, but I am a wrestling coach, but more than just coaching, that they need, we need Black male teachers in the STEM professions. We need more Black male teachers in the histories. We need more Black male teachers in the sciences. Well, that's STEM, in literature. Because we come with a perspective that our children need to hear. When I teach history as a Black man. I can't teach it any other way. My perspective is through that of a Black person. I try my best to teach it, and that to the point where it encompasses all people, right? But I have no choice in the matter of that. I have to teach it as a Black man. And I think that our children, our male children, need to hear these different subjects taught from the perspective of Black men. The Black boys need to hear it from a perspective of Black men. My personal belief, I think that if you're a lover of history, right, that you have a bit of revolutionary mindset, because you've seen, how history has played itself out throughout the years and how it's interlaced, throughout the world. And if you actually have read this web of information and how it has all worked together, you see the need that you have to stand up for certain people. You have to stand up for certain things. Okay. All history teachers do that. But I think that for our young Black men or boys, they need Black men that are there to show them and to say that it's okay to have this perspective. It's okay to be this way. It's okay to be that way. It's okay to doubt yourself. It's okay to fail. Okay? It's okay to be the best. And I think that since this is my personal opinion, all of this is my personal opinion, since a lot of our young boys don't have that, and if we're being truthfully honest, a lot of our young boys don't have anyone that they can relate to, in their lives. They end up relating to some of the worst that society offers them, and it travels them down a path of destruction. I still talk to my wrestlers that and we really do have like a father-son relationship, because a lot of them, they needed me. Some of them call me Unc. They wanted to call me Pops. I said, no, whoever, your dad has that title. And I don't believe in taking the title of that your father should have, but they said, oh, we call you Unc. I said, yeah, I'll accept that. I'll be Unc, and we still have a good relationship. And I think that it's special to me because I was able to be there for those boys, and we need more males into the school system. So I am working on a mentorship program. I don't know exactly when I'm going to launch that, but to get our young boys to see that, being a teacher is a noble profession. To being a teacher is a noble profession. No, you're not going to get rich, right? You might have to start a YouTube channel. You might have to start a YouTube channel, just talking about your passion and hoping that people will watch and listen. You're not going to get rich, but you will be fulfilled. And that's kind of all that matters, that you will be fulfilled. So just getting the year's thoughts out. I didn't say a whole lot about the school year, but I just this was kind of my therapy to breathe the school year out, to say we made it. For any teachers that watch this video, hopefully you watch it and you get this far. We made it, right? What we did this year was impressive. And each and every one of us should be proud of the work that we did. We made it. Take your 2 weeks, take your month to breathe, and let's get back to work to get these kids educated, excited about their future, and let's take this time, breathe, and let's get back to work, guys. So like I say in all my videos, keep putting one foot in front of the other, and you will reach your destination. All right, guys. I love you. Assalamu alaikum.